Oh, yeah. All right. Well, good morning. Good to see everyone here. Do we have people on Zoom? Okay. I'm assuming they can hear us, so we'll begin. This is our final meeting of the Joint Commission on E-commerce and Freight Infrastructure Funding. We asked for an extension last week to allow us time to put this comprehensive report together with these recommendations. And this time is our only order of business is to review this draft that's before us. If we need to make comments or changes, we can do so. But I'd like to ask Alex if he would to run through this summary. And if anybody has any questions, just raise your hand or hit your mic button and we'll stop while we're going through it. So number 2. Okay. Thank you, Alex, for all your hard work on this.
Oh, you're very welcome, Mr. Chair, Mr. Chairman. So essentially, the way I formatted the report is just a summary of all of our 3 previous meetings. So you can see it's logically structured and just a review of what everybody presented and what was said. I'm not going to go into any detail on it since everybody was at the meetings, but most important part obviously are the final recommendations, which appear on page sorry, my glasses, page 8. And you can see there's 25 committee recommendations. If you like, I can go through them, or hopefully everybody reviewed them before.
I'm assuming everyone on the committee has a copy of this email.
Yes, sir.
So they can look through it. I don't know that we need to spend a lot of time reading each one out loud since everyone has a copy.
Okay.
Do you agree with that, Chairman Jaspers?
Yes, sir.
Several recommendations were repeated from various members, so I just kind of consolidated a few of them. Truck parking, I think just about everybody agreed on the lack of truck parking was a big thing, and also training.
Well, let me, go ahead.
I just had one question. Commissioner, on the truck parking, what's number 12? I guess I missed it when it came up. Was this possibly repurposed closed rest areas for truck parking? Is that a possibility that's real, or is that
number 11, number 10? All right.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Absolutely, all cards are on the table as it looks for opportunities to use public rights of way for truck parking. In fact, as this commission has moved forward, our planning director has already provided funding to start that analysis and some of the design work using our existing rest areas, way stations, and visitor centers to see how we can expand those parking spaces as well.
Okay.
But also to look at other properties that we may have, such as old rest areas that may have been abandoned. And there's actually a few locations that were, if you really remember back in the day, some old roadside parks that weren't rest areas, but just pull-offs. And so we're going to explore those opportunities going forward to see what is available.
Okay, yeah, because I don't know. As we all saw, that was just a tremendous need, and I just didn't know. But you'd be able to help us.
How fast do you think you could turn something like that around to open it up?
To open up closed?
Yes.
Hard to speculate without knowing what's left. Some of the parking, most of the parking on the 2 that I'm familiar with, one of them is no longer there. It's a state patrol headquarters now. And the other location, again, state agencies, helping state
Sure.
agencies. The other location still has the pavement in place. The
Mhm.
facility is gone, but the pavement's in place, and that's up on I-85, up in right at Franklin, Banks County line up in that area. So there's some other locations there that have no improvements anymore. It's just, been regraded, and so you'd be starting over. So I would say, you're talking a couple of years to
Right.
design, environmental, construct.
Yes, sir.
Just a comment.
What number are you, Mr. Grant?
Number 4.
Number 4. Okay, go ahead.
With Commissioner McMurray, of course, he and I discussed this back some time ago. But my question is, and I'm hearing this from some of the truck owners, will there be calls for appointments to get those locations when they come in to park overnight or during their service? And how do you look at making that logistically available?
Thank you, Mr. Grantham. We certainly anticipate using technology to inform truck drivers or spaces. We don't have that solid if there's actually a reservation type activity that exists at the private truck parking areas and truck stops. But other states, our neighbor to the south, Florida, has, if you notice when you travel there, they'll say how many spaces are available. We would anticipate adding that type of technology into the expansion of truck parking, or even retrofitting the existing truck parking at some point of using that technology.
Good. Could that be a P3 opportunity to privatize that?
Well, utilizing the existing would not be, but trying to do something new, and I think there is space in the P3 world that could be looked at,
Right.
and we'll have to explore that going forward.
Okay. Any other questions about that particular topic, number 12? I'm looking on Zoom. I don't see any hands waving. Do I see one now? Is that Trey?
It is, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. I had just a couple of technical comments, probably for Alex, and then one more general comment. On page 4, under the section, the summary of the 2021 statewide strategic transportation plan, the last draft I had referred to $204 billion annually. I think we might be missing that'd be a wonderful thing, but I think we might be missing a decimal point. I assume that's 2.04 billion.
Yeah, actually, it's on the bottom of page 3. Senator Gann actually brought it up to me just before the meeting. I'm gonna have to go back at my notes and look it over, unless the commissioner is familiar with that figure. We could correct it right here, but
Let's validate it, but it is not 204 billion.
yeah.
I would be doing something else.
Yeah, that's under the section where Professor Tim Brown from Georgia Tech was speaking. So I'll have to go back and just check on my notes. It's probably 204 million, or 2 point,
More like 2.04 billion.
Billion, okay.
2.04 is.
That was my thought.
yeah.
Second technical comment, again for Alex, moving forward a page under the summary of the 2021 Urban Mobility Report. The comparisons are all highly favorable, 2020 to 2019. My recollection is that was COVID influenced. I mean, we shut commuting down for a big chunk of 2020. Might just be worth revisiting your notes, and if that is the case, note that in the comments, lest we leave readers with the misimpression that commute times are getting shorter.
I'll make that clarification. That's a good point.
And then the final point, and this is really not for Alex, I'll just direct it to the committee and to both of our distinguished chairmen. As I reviewed the report and the recommendations, obviously we've got recommendations in a lot of different areas, but it seems to me that recommendation number 24 is really where the rubber meets the road, in the sense that in the next 11 or 12 months, the DOT will have a newly revised state freight plan. And my assumption is that will be the framework that would allow the legislature to solve for the dollars needed, which would then lead into the hard work of where do we get those dollars. I'm not suggesting a change to the report, but as I reflected on our work, the question I kept asking was, what's the path forward? As I read the report, it strikes me that the path forward is we need the revised and updated state freight plan, which presumably would come with some sort of an estimate. And then that could lead to the hard work that will occur in the legislature about how we fund that. And that's just a general comment.
Good thoughts, and I agree with you. I think we all are anticipating that report at the end of this calendar year, and that's definitely when we'll be able to put some quantified number to a plan, I guess, at that point. Is that correct, Commissioner?
That's correct.
And then we'll let the Ways and Means Committee come up with a couple $2 billion revenues.
I'm sure they'll appreciate
I hear
that.
crickets. All right.
As usual, Senator, the hard work will fall to us.
Well, we've done it before. House Bill 170. So we'll see.
You remember too.
That's when I got gray hair. Thank you, Trey, for your comments and your careful eye there when you brought up those changes, and we'll make those accordingly. Are there any other questions or comments from the members? Commissioner?
A comment to follow on to Trey's comment on traffic volumes, and just to reaffirm as this commission worked over this last year, things have not been normal as traffic patterns due to the impacts of COVID. But as we looked at the end of last year, traffic patterns continue to normalize. Freight volume is still at all-time highs, on average 10% higher than pre-pandemic. And some days, if you look at individual days, as much as 40% higher. And so there's some really big spikes in there in supply chain, obviously. So I would say that the trends that from e-commerce especially have not reduced at all and continued on the upward trajectory that as demonstrated through testimony to this commission has been record highs for Georgia and the nation. But that trajectory continues it hasn't waned at all since this commission met last year, and traffic volumes in general again are back to pre-pandemic levels, even though time of congestion in Metro Atlanta still has not rebounded fully, but we're seeing those trends come back. Obviously, pandemic impacts still affect sort of daily commutes, but freight volume highs ever.
Right. Well, that's a good thing. Good and bad.
That's one of Senator Gooch. Just one,
Sure.
I want to just point out that I don't know which one of our members put it in there. It was number 17. And which, in the past 2 months, I mean, that's the one about stop speaking poorly about trucks and trucking. I don't know which one of our members put that in there, but I just wanted to emphasize that one, because I think as all of us and leaders in transportation and need to make sure that how we talk about trucks and trucking, we're not negative, that we're positive, and just like the Christmas presents and chemicals and everything that's delivered around our state is due to these folks. And I think we need to just make sure when we're speaking and to different groups that we really hit that home, that we couldn't live without it. And they just do a great job. And whoever take credit for it, but I really appreciate that being in this report.
Thank you. And I see Senator Frank Ginn's hand up on the Zoom board, so it may have been him.
Frank, you're not going to take credit for it, right? That was you.
I won't take credit for that. It's a good thought. I did have something that I wanted to make sure our committee was aware of, and maybe we can emphasize it back to the federal government. But one of the things that they've got some requirements coming out for new CDL drivers on February 7th regarding some training requirements and some things there that they're changing the rules and making it more difficult for us to get drivers licensed in the United States. And, you know, I've been working with some of the training schools on that. And one of the things that I'd like to see us do is send a message to whether it's Pete Buttigieg or the president or who, but in the middle of a pandemic, when we've already got all these supply chain issues going on and the problems that we're dealing with, for them to make it harder to get a CDL license because of some bureaucratic rules is counterproductive. So yesterday I reached out to Senator Warnock's office and kind of informed them of it and trying to move it that way. But, you know, I think it's important that they understand this is a tough time for everybody in the freight and logistics. And by doing what they're wanting to do, it's going to make it that much harder.
Well, that's a good comment, Senator Gann. And as the chairman of the Transportation Committee, perhaps you and Chairman Jaspers could do a resolution in the House and the Senate next week. We could pass that and send it up to them. We never know when they're going to read those resolutions, but it doesn't hurt to try. So maybe we can get some input from the Commissioner of DOT before we do it. So, since you have a relationship with those folks.
Thank you, Chairman Gooch.
Chair,
All right.
again, we'll be glad to work with you on that. Let's work on that the next day or two, okay?
Thank you, sir.
All right. Anyone else? I don't believe I see any other hands up on the Zoom board. As I look around the room, I see a lot of familiar faces, people that have been with us through this process for the last year and years in the past working with us on transportation issues. And so we thank you for your involvement and your input. It's important that we continue to listen to our citizens and our constituents, but also the industry people that are impacted by these rules and regulations and laws that we pass down here. So I'd like to give a special shout out to Seth and Madison and his team over at Georgia Transportation Alliance, the Georgia Chamber of Commerce. They've always been good partners with us on this effort. So Seth, would you like to say anything? I hate to put you on the spot, but have any comments? Sir, say again. Yeah, well, thank you. We appreciate it. Anyone else in the room have a comment or a question? I'd like to open it up for anybody that might want to have a moment or two to talk about what we're doing and where we're headed from here. All right. Can't say we didn't give them a shot, right? All right. So at this time, I guess we'll consider a motion to approve the recommendations for the commission's work, and we'll put together the report with the changes that were noted earlier, and we'll submit this to the respective chambers of the House and the Senate and the clerk's offices. So we have a motion from Don Grantham, seconded by Chairman Jaspers. Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Any opposed?
Trey's got a hand up.
All right. Did we,
Trey Gooch.
Trey, you have a question, or is that a vote?
That was my vote.
All right. So we have I think we have all yays. Were there any no votes? I did not see or hear any. Okay. Well, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you all for all your time and input in this important issue. Chairman Jaspers, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, Chairman, I've enjoyed working with you, and I just want to thank Alex and your team, and has worked very diligently to keep us a great report. And lots of emails go back and forth, Alex, and we appreciate you keeping track of them. And in my shop, Abby, to answer great questions for me. You know, your admin, you need to thank her.
I will. She had to leave to go to an appointment.
I know, but she is.
We have a good fill in here today, and she's
just Senator Gooch is. Gracie's done a great job as Lisa informing everybody. And I always like to thank them. They kind of get left out sometimes. So I sure appreciate them. And
Appreciate it, Mr. Chair.
we do. And And I want to thank Senator Gooch, being new in this position, having this study committee this year has really improved my knowledge of the issues and, with Matt Guest and Trey and, Calvin, all the different folks who are online there with us. I appreciate you talking to me, filling me in and making sure I understand this issue. It's been good.
Well, if more House members would listen to the Senate more
I
often,
didn't
we
say
would get,
that.
we would get a lot more done. Now,
Coach,
Ambassador Calvin Smyrie, you have the floor.
we listen to you all the time. I have been listening to you for a long time. And when we listen to each other, like I said, life is a two-way street, not a one-way alley. So we done listen to each other.
You're right. I appreciate that. And our condolences to you and your family for your loss.
I deeply appreciate that. And it's the outpouring of love and support that I received from both the House and Senate and all the friends. And I'm deeply, deeply appreciative of the outpouring of support and love in the loss of my daughter. I'm thinking for that.
Well, we know you've had a struggle with that recently, and our hearts are out. And
Thank you.
your family. But we do want to come visit you down in the Caribbean islands. So.
There's got to be a transportation issue we need to learn about.
Study.
After Jeff, Gooch will be definitely welcome. Yeah, for sure.
All right. Thank you. Any other comments from the committee members before we close out? Okay. Well, our business here is complete, and we will see all of you next Monday, our first day of session. We're adjourned.
Go dogs.
Go dogs.
Yeah.
Y'all have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.